Well, this is the series where I'm taking on opponents of different rating levels. Now today my opponent is rated 300, almost 400. So if you're close to that rating level yourself, I'm going to take you through my thought process and what it takes to win against players of this level. So we've got a Scandinavian defense from black, and one concept that I can introduce straight away is that in this opening, black brings out their queen rather early, and you can attack this with tempo with the move knight to c3. In the opening phase of the game, you should always be looking for moves like this. Now in the Scandinavian defense, black expects this move and is prepared to play it anyway. But this concept of looking to get your pieces off their starting squares with tempo is a good one to bear in mind. Now what my opponent has done here is considered to be a mistake. Giving this check, it's very natural to want to check the enemy king, but this is going to give me the chance to play another move, getting a piece off a starting square. And pretty soon, on the following move, I'm going to be able to play knight to f3 and attack the black queen again. There is a rule of thumb in chess that in general it's not a good idea to bring out the queen too early, and my 300 rated opponent has already gone ahead and broken that rule. So now we've got this move bishop to g4. This is putting pressure on the pinned bishop. The idea is that now if I play knight to f3, black will be prepared to capture. So what I can do instead is attack the queen in another way via d4. So the black queen is being pushed around. It was pushed around earlier with the move knight to c3. It's being pushed around again with the move d4. So I'm getting my pieces off their starting squares, and meanwhile black is just having to move their queen. Well, now for the third time the queen's going to need to move. Now when you're playing chess, you always need to look at the critical moves. One possibility here is to capture the bishop, and then if I were to capture the queen, black would be prepared to capture my queen, but we're not going to get that line. Instead we get queen to f6, and this move already is a blunder. Now the reason this is a blunder is it leaves the bishop undefended. One move ago we had the case where I wasn't able to take on g4 because of this pin, but now that the queen's moved, this bishop is without defenders. So if you're at the 300 level and you're looking to improve, you always need to do a double check that the move that you make is not going to allow your opponent to win material. In this case, this move will allow me to win material, and I do that by simply bishop takes g4. So look for undefended pieces, and that's a good way to gain a big advantage at this level. I think at the below 500 level, generally the player who wins the game will be the one who is able to spot such opportunities more often than their opponent. Don't leave pieces undefended, and you should do quite well, and you won't be rated below 500 for very long. Okay, so now we get another move here, striking at the center. Now one thing that I could do is play pawn takes on e5, and that would allow black to recapture, and then I could block with the queen and we get a queen trade. And that's a position which is very low risk for me. We'd have a trade of queens where I've got an extra piece, and that would prevent black from having any counterplay. However, there's an expression in chess that when you see a good move, try and look for a better one. And so what I'm actually going to do here is pin this pawn. So if I play queen to e2, then the pawn won't be able to take due to the pin against the black king. If he tries to remove that pin with a move such as bishop to e7, well then now I can take, and it's different because I'll be able to keep the queens on the board, keeping the pressure up. Always worth noting as well, just the types of moves that allow you to keep the advantage. So we don't want to allow any counterplay here. We've got the extra piece, and therefore we should use it. So this bishop is hanging right now. Just want to make a careful note of that. since I moved the knight out to f3, the bishop is now without a defender, but it's okay. Black cannot castle queenside because the bishop is guarding that square. Now, if you're enjoying this video so far and you're enjoying my style of explaining and teaching, then just to let you know, I help a small number of dedicated adult improvers get better results in chess. Actually, a couple of my students just had big rating milestone wins over the past week. And if you'd like to join them, then go ahead and click the link in the description below. We can set up a time to chat and see if working together will be a good fit. Now he's gone ahead and pinned the knight in front of my king. I think against that move I can simply castle. There's no need to do anything fancy here. I can just get the king safe. I'm an extra piece to the good. And so if he wants to take, well then that's fine by me. I get some double pawns, but the closer we get to an endgame, the better it is for me. So let's just castle. Now this knight is again free to move, maybe to d5 or maybe to e4. So now he's attacking the bishop, which makes a lot of sense. One thing I could consider here is to actually play bishop to g5 or to just take the knight. Both of those look quite good. I can also answer the threat against the bishop with a bigger threat by taking on e5. So then he wouldn't have time to take the bishop because in that case I would take the queen. This move here also looks very strong. There's lots of good options here, and it's because I've got better development. I mentioned before that the black queen was being pushed around with tempo in the opening, and because of that I was able to get better developed, and well, having an extra piece helps a lot too, of course. So I like this move here, answering this threat with a bigger threat. So he doesn't have time to take the bishop because of the threat against the queen. Let's go for this. This also has the possibility of taking on b4 if black allows it. There's also this idea here as well. Lots of problems here for black to solve. He might have to go back here in order to guard this one. In which case, I guess I could just take here at a bare minimum. I could also look to take here. Yeah, many good moves here, as is often the case when you've got better development and extra material. Okay, so we get queen to d6. Now the knight is being attacked, and I think it's best to just trade some pieces. Now if he takes here, then that's fine. I can just take here. You always got to look at the critical line. So when there's multiple pieces under attack, this is what's known as a critical moment. And in critical moments, you need to stop and you need to calculate. So I'm just going to get myself another trade closer to a winning endgame. This one's going to have to take back. It does open up this file for the rook, but I'm not too concerned, honestly. I can take here now. If he captures, then there'll be a fork. So this move here I didn't really expect. And once again, when you see a move that you perhaps didn't see coming, it's a good time to pause and to think of what you can do next. I would like to keep this threat alive of providing a discovered check if I can. So keeping the queen on the e-file is top of mind. Also this one here would provide some opportunities of creating a pin. This one here is perhaps a bit safer. He still can't castle due to the bishop guarding that square. I do have this check. I think this one is very good because it actually creates a threat. The threat is to play c3. So let's go with this. So now again there's multiple threats. One of them is to play c3, which would fork the queen and knight. Another is to create a discovered attack with the knight moving away, unveiling an attack on the black king. This move here might be one way for him to hold things together. But okay, he plays that move instead, which is interesting. I do think, though, that there must be some kind of tactic here. We could go check. He takes the queen, I take his queen. And he takes the rook at the end is the problem. This one here is also quite tempting, threatening a nasty check against f7. Also this one. This one actually is quite clever, because if he goes ahead and follows through with the threat of taking the rook, well then I get this check. I think this is actually strongest. If he takes the rook, then there's this check, which will win the queen. Yeah. So they say that chess is 99% tactics, and this is a good example of that. My opponent saw the opportunity to take the rook, but he perhaps didn't see the threat that I had made with that move, queen to e2. So when you're in a critical position, like I was there, you need to look for the best move, because in critical moments, the game is often decided. Okay, so the king moves away and I can simply take the queen. No reason not to do that. Also note that the knight actually can't get out here. So we get the rook coming to e8. So let's just respect that, move the queen out of the way. The knight still can't go out. Going to be able to play rook takes knight next move with even more material coming right up. Let's just keep things under control. So by moving the bishop away here, I'm making sure that it's not undefended. And black is now going for critical moves, which makes a lot of sense. I'd be doing the same thing if I were him. But one thing I can look to do here is bring the knight into d5. Now that actually comes with a threat. The threat is to come in here with check. And in that case you'd have to block with the rook. And I could still look to capture this knight. So let's go ahead with this. This is also another idea. You might expect that he'd play the move that he just played. Yeah, that's what I thought he might have done. But now I can grab this pawn with check. He's going to have to go here, or here, I suppose. He could block with the rook. Yeah, that is what he does. Okay. But now the knight is defended by the bishop, and I can simply grab this knight. So if we count the material here, black's got two rooks, and I've got a rook, a knight, and a bishop, which by itself would actually give me a material advantage. But in addition to that, of course, I do also have a queen, which makes a big difference, shall we say. Okay, what's the cleanest way to finish the game off here? Well, maybe one thing that's worth doing in a position like this, just to avoid any chance of something going wrong, is to spend a move playing h3 so that the king has got an escape square. The last thing you'd want to have happen in a dominant position like this is to end up with a back rank checkmate. So this move h3 is just a little insurance policy, making sure that nothing can go badly wrong. Note here that I'm keeping this pin. He's moved away now, but but in this case I can actually bring the knight in with check. He'll probably go here, I suppose, so that the rook can again move. But actually the rook can't move, because if the rook did move, then it would be checkmate here. So let's bring this rook over to e1 with the threat of coming in here. When you're in a winning position, you want to finish things off cleanly without any hint of counterplay. Even in a position like this, I'm still thinking to myself, how could I lose this? And that, I think, is one difference at the, let's say, below 1000 level. Often players are only thinking of their own plans, but it's very important to think of what your opponent might be up to. Okay, so the move rook to d6, I'm pretty sure must lose, and it could lose in a number of different ways. It's all just about how I'd like to finish this off now. So the first move that comes to mind, of course, is the check. The move rook to e8 check really forces black into playing rook to g8, and then I have a number of different checkmates. I only need one of them, but well, rook takes g8 is one way, and queen takes g8 is another way. So let's just calculate this one more time to be sure. Rook to e8 check. The black king is actually on some kind of back rank mate itself. It can't move because of the pawn, the rook, and the pawn. The rook can move backwards, but in case of the rook moving backwards with the rook on e8, I can just capture here, and black saw that coming, hence we get the resignation. Now that you've seen how to win at the 300 elo level, click here to check out the next video in the series. I'll be going through every rating range, all the way up to 2000, and showing you tips how you can secure the victory at every level.